A reading from the Gospel of Luke. When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen as it had been told them. After 8 days had passed, it was time to circumcise the child, and he was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. We have this wonderful, famous tableau that if you've grown up in the church, or even if you haven't, you see it. It's imprinted in our minds. The Holy Family, Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus at the center, and then concentric circles of animals and angels and shepherds and wise men, all of the different infancy narratives sort of smushed into one. But today we take the Gospel of Luke and we focus in on this little piece of it, where the shepherds have come running to Bethlehem to check out what the angels have told them as they were watching their flocks by night in fields. So I'm struck looking at this little narrow passage of this story that has so many things usually conflated into it, but this difference in response, it couldn't be more different to the good news and to the confirmation of all that had been promised to Mary, all that had been told to these shepherds. Everyone is confirming one another's story, and the responses to that could not be more different. Mary becomes more inward, more silent. She ponders these things and treasures them, ponders them in her heart. And what do the shepherds do? Having their confirmation, they go back out into the world. They return to where they came from, rejoicing and glorifying God. More silent, more ebullient. You couldn't get more different than those two responses. And I know that those are two general moves that I see all the time in the people around me when we're dealing with crises or dealing with good news. Some people react and respond and externalize their response, and some go more quiet and more inward and take more time in their response to the news, good or bad. And I think we need to remember to make space for both of those human responses. I wonder if you know off the top of your head which type of person you are. I sense that you do. You know if you're the person in the meeting who needs just one more moment to gather your thoughts and blurt out your thoughts, or if you're the person who just has to sit on yourself because you can hardly contain what you're about to say. You may be either of those extremes. You may be somewhere in between. But I think it's important to know that both of those responses are important. They're important in this story. They're important in our lives together as people of God. They're important as the church as we respond to God's activity within us and through us in our own day. And sometimes I think it's easy to feel bad about who we are, wherever we are, especially if we're on either end of the spectrum, and feel that we wish we could be more like the people on the other end. I think it's important to celebrate in this story the way that faithful people called by God, people to whom God revealed God's self in a very explicit way in this story, people had very different responses, and each of them was faithful. So whoever you are, however you are, if you're the person who ponders things in your heart, if you're the person who blurts it all out, know that each is a faithful response to the good work that God is doing in you and through you. And may God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.